Sure. I know most of them at this point.
Yeah, I should, right?
Yeah.
Start off with just the week. I thought this week was great for us. I mean, we were able to take 2 days off, Monday and Wednesday. We practiced extremely hard and physical Tuesday, Thursday. Today we did as well, but we were just shorter. I thought we really had an edge to us. We'll see if that carries over tomorrow. Obviously, at this point, this time of year, you're really striving for consistency. And I thought we got a lot out of practice this week. We got better offensively. We got better defensively. Guys are really working at it. We were able to address some things through film as well. So I thought that part was good. We really maxed out our week off or our bye week. And then in terms of Nebraska, obviously they're playing well right now. They've won 2 in a row. They've got some young guys out there. It reminds me of us. Ohio State, Rutgers are the ones that are playing the most young guys, and they're playing some young guys that have really gotten better and really improved. And you can tell from watching their films that they've done that. I think obviously Shields is a terrific player. He's been a tough cover for us. The kid White really shoots the ball well. I compared him, to other great shooters we played this season, whether it's Duncan Robinson or Bo Beach or. He can really make shots, and it's tough to get to his ball because he's 6'7", he's long, he gets it off quick. So he's a handful, both him and Shields. Their guard play's been good. I think they play even faster than in the past. They got multiple guys that bring it in transition, and you can just see a little bit like us defensively. Their statistics maybe aren't quite where they were, but they're getting better at that end. Meaning were in the previous years. Same certainly can be said of us. And but you can see their young guys getting better. Our young guys, I feel like, are getting better. Should be a great contest tomorrow. Questions?
You mentioned your young guys. Given the circumstances and now 4 games into Big Ten play, how do you evaluate the progress of your freshmen?
Oh, they're getting better. I thought all 3 of them collectively had their best game last Sunday. It doesn't mean that they're just going to wake up and have their best game tomorrow. But I like the progress that they've made. They had all 3 of them had great weeks in practice. Michael did as well. Technically he's our 4th guy, freshman there, but they all did. They're getting better. They're improving with experience, with reps. I think their habits are getting better. So we're starting to get some traction there.
Scott, you mentioned they kind of, from the outsider view, seem similar to you guys, and that they
Yeah.
got 2 guys they can go to, and then a young team. Do you see a lot of similarities?
I do, yeah, I do. And obviously, Tim does a good job. I respect the job that he does. They've always been very difficult to score against. They run good stuff. But you're right, White and Shields are a handful, and their other guys are getting better. Their freshmen are getting better. Their younger players in general are getting better at both ends of the floor. I saw that through the film. I think they're playing really well right now.
Coach, I know you've touched on it before, but Kelly Lewis looked really good against Purdue. Where would this team be without him at this point?
Well, obviously, he's been an integral part. We feel blessed to have gotten him as quickly as we did when we recruited him. He's been a godsend. He's been great, really steady, good defensively, and then he takes really good care of the ball. And I think he's getting more and more comfortable with what we're doing. He's making guys better. I loved his competitive toughness last Sunday. I loved his passion, his spirit. And, I said this after the game. I think, that unfortunately for us, obviously he missed the first 2 league games. We'd have liked to have had him. But I think it also mentally kind of grabbed him and made him realize, like, man, game gets taken away from you. It makes you appreciate it a little bit more. And he's come back with a lot of vigor and, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, communicating better, knows what we want. Obviously he's a big part of what we do.
I'd like to return to your theme of adding one player changes the whole team. How has Kipper changed the whole team?
Well, first of all, he's been great emulating the other team with some scout team stuff. And that's been great. And that's taught me that he can really pick things up quick. Mentally, he's really sharp. Knows the game. He's got great IQ. But more important than that, he's competitive. He's physical. He seeks contact. He's got an energy about him. He's always smiling. You know, he's a straight up Tigger. He just, you know, he's brought a lot to our team just in here early. And I think as he's here longer, Rob, obviously he's going to know more and more about what he's doing, and that's going to make him even more effective and a better player.
Malcolm said that the practices this week weren't maybe quite as tough as last week, which you described as kind of hellish, but they're still tough and maybe down to earth, humbling. Is that kind of what you wanted to get across this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were just as physical. You know, obviously every guy's got their own perspective. I certainly respect Malcolm's opinion, as I always will. But they were, it was physical the last 3 days. They were very, very similar. And I think that's what this team needs at this juncture. You learn about your team as you coach your team. Each team's different. And we have to, with this particular team, we have to keep our foot on the gas pedal.
You talked about Nebraska's young guys, and they've moved Glenn Watson into the starting lineup the
Yeah.
last 6 games. Just what have you maybe seen from him as freshman point guard?
Yeah, I mean, Glenn's a good player. He's done a great job for them. He makes guys better. He's got good length. He's got great hands, which allows him to finish, get deflections, get steals. He's got good vision, and you can tell he's one of their younger guys, certainly, Scott, that's continued to improve and get better.
He was on the Illini recruiting radar for, from the time he was about sixth
Sure.
grade.
Yeah.
Can you talk about why he didn't
No, I
wind
don't
up
really
here?
want to get into decisions that we made, who we were recruiting, and how that affected him or other guys. I mean, that's a moot point at this point.
You saw a lot of Ed Morrow with CDJ
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
What is he
He's
bring
gotten
to-
better. You know, they've obviously started to play him more here lately. I love his energy. He's great on the glass. He's competitive. He has a knack for rebounding, Jeremy, very similar to LaRon in that regard. Just, some guys, obviously you've got to block out, guys like LaRon or, I had the chance to coach David West when I was an assistant, or, guys that are elite level rebounders. Sometimes, to be honest, if we're all honest about it, they just go snatch them. They have a knack for getting them. LaRon's that way. I think Ed's that way. He has a knack for rebounding. He's relentless on the backboard and plays with a lot of energy.
Any updates from the injured guys? Any progress?
Yeah, we're trying to do more with those guys, and then obviously talking about Thorne, Black, and Abrams. Really, all three of them, are heavy into treatment, heavy into rehab. We've tried to do a little bit more with Thorne to see how the knee's going to respond. Really, all of them are still the same deal. It's kind of indefinite. Some days you think, yeah, you might be able to crack the code and move forward with a guy, and then you get knee swelling, or you get soreness, or So I wish I had more positive feedback for you there on those guys, but we're just going to keep, pushing them with what we need to do medically and health-wise. And, obviously Tracy, we've completely said done. There's no chance he's coming back for the year. But the other two are just kind of out indefinitely. It depends on, can we continue with treatment and rehab? How are the knees responding? Can we get the swelling down? Is soreness down? Can they play effectively? It's both of them obviously had the same type of injury, so I'm leaving that up to Schmitty and the doctors. They kind of decide how much more a guy does or what he doesn't do. But neither one of them at this point, as of today or tomorrow, do we anticipate any game action at all.
Coach, the theme of year one was TNT. It seems like this team's starting to adapt a little bit of that. How do you kind of evaluate that?
Yeah, we're getting tougher and together. We want that to be our identity every year, and that's easier said than done. You have to do that. You have to be really mentally tough. I think you have to play with great effort and energy. You have to have a great attitude, and you have to be able to focus regardless of circumstance. Up big, down big, away, home, crowd in your favor, not in your favor, and do I think we're there yet? Not yet, not totally, but we're a lot closer than we were, a month to 2 months ago, and some of those young guys have learned some very valuable lessons that I think are going to be great for them moving forward, not only this year, but, in subsequent years.
John, is it fair to say, and I don't know what he's doing, I don't know if you can get into that, but that Mike would be closer than Laurent at this
Oh,
point?
sure. Yeah, as of today, but who knows? You may ask me in a week and it might be different. Hey, knee blew up. We tried to move him forward and it just didn't respond. Like at this point, that's why I've said before, I've kind of prepared myself that neither one of them, potentially, I hope, for me right now for us to bank on, hey, we're banking on this happening, that's not a good move. That would be almost like, a luxury at this point. But I think that's safe to say for sure, Jeremy. I think as of today, he's for sure further along. And hopefully he can continue to make some progress and the knee responds accordingly.
What is this part of the schedule? That first 4 games, I know it was really difficult to start, and now you get a couple of home games, especially against teams that seem more.
Yeah, we don't pay attention to that. The biggest thing right now is the reality of it is, and I've said before, we're not going to make excuses, but the reality of it is Khalid Lewis didn't play in the first 2 games. It's reality. The reality of it is Kendrick Nunn did not play in Game 3. It's reality. Right now, Lord willing, they get a good night's rest. Both of them are playing tomorrow. And we got our current rendition, as I call it, has been back together for some continuity, for rotations, for what we call, what we run. That's harder, I think, sometimes than what people think. And certainly I'm not trying to blame Khalid or Ken either. Obviously one guy was ill and the other guy was, we wanted Ken to be there for the birth of his child. And so, those things are very important. We do the same thing again in both cases. Just the timing maybe, wasn't quite as fortunate, but it is what it is, and we had to deal with it. So, I think the biggest thing now as we head in here into Game 5 is, unless, something which you never know in this business happens between now and tomorrow, we're planning on playing our current rendition and having those guys out there, so that's a big deal. Because that gives you a chance, Jeremy, to keep getting better. And that's what I saw this week. I saw us getting better. Guys are getting used to playing with certain guys. There's a connection there that's getting better. Execution's getting better. Guys know what they're doing more. And I think that's a good thing.
Coach, you talk about the positives you've seen from DJ, and now we're starting to see a little bit of it in the games.
Yeah, he's getting better. He's starting to understand our defense better. He's playing harder, longer periods of time. He knows more what's going on. He's handling things better, whether that's a successful possession or something where maybe he turned it over, where he can get to the next play a little bit better, which I like. And he's really practiced well. So he's gotten better. He's improving. And obviously, like you're saying, Derek, we all know he's talented. Saw some of that last Sunday. And the future's really bright for him if he can stay with it. A lot of it's a mindset thing, especially when you're a young guy. But I really love where his mind's at right now.
Kind of going back to Nebraska, is this maybe one of the better offensive teams that Tim Miles has had, just as a group?
Yeah, you have to ask him, Scott, but I feel that way watching them. I think they've got more firepower shooting. I think they're playing 10 guys. They've got multiple ball handlers. I think their kids in the front court, although young, are skilled guys. They can shoot, pass, dribble a little bit like Michael. You could certainly make that case. I think that's a very valid statement. That's very debatable. But from my opinion, I'd agree with that. Obviously I don't coach Tim's team every day, so you have to ask him. But I certainly feel that way watching him.
You mentioned DJ's kind of mental aspect of the game. As the freshman core is kind of a whole, their mental aspect, have you seen it kind of intensify, I guess, as they've moved into Big Ten play, maybe taking things, realizing how much is on the line? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even know if they realize how much is on the line. Sometimes I think right now they're probably worried about what they got for lunch after practice. But I think for them it's more about habits, reps, experience. I don't think they wake up every day and say, man, more's on the line. I don't think, we don't talk about that. Our deal is we're going to get better today. We got a long way to go. Guys got to get better in some certain areas that we're trying to address. Some of them are individually specific for each guy. They're not necessarily the same for each guy. And we got to get these things addressed to make you better, make our team better. And we need some of these things that we're doing, especially defensively, to become habitual. And I think what's happened is over time, watching film, playing, all the things we've done with them, practice, they've started to develop some better habits. I'm not saying they're perfect or they've arrived yet, but they're much better, especially defensively, than when they first started.
And Malcolm was a subject, part of the BTN for the journey. Are things like that just kind of a nice extra bonus for the program?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've said this before, he's a great kid, great teammate, really cares, hard worker. I love coaching him, and I love coaching him. And I still think he's got more. I've got a high bar for him, and I think he can handle it. He's handled and shouldered a lot this season. For our team to continue to play at a high level, we need him to be engaged. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get 30 every night, because you might not make all of them on a given game. You might have an off night shooting, but he's one of those guys that can bring so many things to the table, Scott. Passing, rebounding, knowledge of what we're doing, multi-positional, guard multiple positions. He's brings so many different things to the table. He's clearly not a one-trick pony. He's got a lot of tricks, which is what makes him a really good player.
I know the situations were different, but when you look at kind of this, when Malcolm and Kendrick played their freshman year, do you think that that's helping to have them have that experience of playing as freshmen to help the freshmen now along?
No question. Yeah, sure. Experience is a great teacher. Those guys probably wouldn't be the players they were today without that experience. And that's going to happen, I think, for those other guys too, because they're pretty talented. This particular class got thrown into the fire earlier than, as Tracy reminds me, any of our guys on our roster as freshmen, whether it was him or Nana as a freshman back in the day, or LeBron. I think he obviously redshirted his first year here. Malcolm or Kendrick, those guys are pretty good players, but these guys got thrust into it, and so I think they've learned quite a bit going through it, and I think for sure it's going to benefit us moving forward.
Is there any step back to remind them that at any point? Do you ever take the moment to say, hey guys, I'm proud of what you're doing at this point, to realize, kind of acknowledging the situation they're in?
Yeah, every once in a while. I've got a couple of those guys, those captains, that say, hey, you guys really played well tonight. You guys stepped up. We know we're hard on you, but you're getting better. And that's a good thing. But we've also been pretty hard on them. And they needed that. They need that. They need that to understand. It's and you can, sometimes games are the best, barometer of that. When a kid gets in the game, it's kind of like, you don't want to say I told you so, but we've been talking to a few of them about defending screens better. Last Thursday night, they got hit a few times, a lot. And so now all of a sudden they're a little bit more attentive on screen. So sometimes you got to go through that. And I think those guys went through that. I think they'll be better off for it.
Do you find this tough balance kind of strike between expecting a lot of them being hard on them, but also kind of appreciating the situation?
Yeah, I think that's in general for any human being. I think all human beings want a certain level of encouragement, and we certainly blend that in for sure. And I know our staff does. We try to stay as positive as we can, but we also try to be real with them. If they didn't defend screening actions well, I'm not going to, I told them, even after the Purdue game, where our offensive execution was better, but I didn't think we screened really very well, other than pick and rolls. So I showed them those clips. I'm not going to tell them they did that well just because we won. That's foolish. So they know, I'm going to shoot them straight. I think the truth can be powerful. As long as they trust you and they know, like, hey, when we're doing well, he's going to tell us. When we don't, he's going to tell us. I think we've got a pretty good blend of that.
Any questions for Coach from the phone line?
Jones, Mark. Question about rebounding. When you guys let go of the shot on the offensive end, let's say 3-pointer or something, with this group, John, what's the happy medium between following your shot, chasing the rebound, or getting back on defense? And is it different with this team than it might be with another team given your youth?
Well, not necessarily youth, tough, but guys' ability level. You know, for example, you know, and obviously you know this tough. I mean, you know, if you were the coach of the Fighting Illini, I'm sure you'd have Black and Thorn attacking the glass. Otherwise, I'd start to question your sanity, which I do that sometimes anyway. But I'm kidding, tough. But then there's some guys like we gotta get guys get back. They gotta get back. With this current team we have, that's a little bit undersized and, you know, really skilled. I like them, but we have certain guys going, certain guys getting back. We're probably a little bit more heavy right now on getting back, and that's why I was really disappointed Thursday night. You know, a week ago Thursday, because you know we're supposed to be better there. And then obviously, you know, you've got Finke and Morgan and some of those guys going to the glass, and, you know, but you know, at the end of the day, like I said, I'm gonna be real. Like, you know, all you can do is pick up the stat sheet and see who the two best guys are, rebounds per minute played, and they're in street clothes right now. You know, so that is what it is. We got to figure something else out and be better with our rebounding on the defensive end collectively, and we need to be great at something else. You know, you got to figure out, I think, tough with each guy in your team, what can they be great at? There's no need sometimes having a guy do something that he's going to be mediocre at best, just to have him do it. So I think all of us as coaches are trying to figure out, you know, you rob Peter to pay Paul a lot. And, you know, that's a delicate balance. But with this current team we have, you know, obviously we've got to do a good job of getting back and getting our defense set. You know, that's a real priority for us.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other phone line questions? Anything else from the room?
All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.